Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sean Michael Small, sitting in. Of course, my co-host is not here, Mr. Keaton Shah. Apologies. His health situation is making it difficult for him to come to the show, so he decided today it was best if he took a break. However, with me, as usual on Wednesdays, is our Wednesday contributor, Mrs. Karen Nurse-Shearer. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning to you, Sean. Good morning to your viewers. And I don't know if I want to say I'm happy to be here because the topics that we are going to cover certainly not topics of cheer and optimism. In fact, it's the very opposite. And I think I know Sean will lead out on one of them because he is far more familiar with it than I am. Oh, okay.
Well, folks, and Karen is right. I mean, it's not a beautiful day. It's a rainy day. It's very much in line with how I'm feeling. Maybe how I'm feeling would be better expressed with something of a heavier rainstorm, to be honest. We've gone through this show for over a year now. A lot of the times, there's a lot of things to talk about that are not pleasant. We've went through COVID. We've seen 4,000 of our fellow citizens succumb to that disease, the lockdown, the struggle of people. We've had somebody from a food bank, a charity food bank, basically say they're struggling to get food to feed people who are struggling to feed themselves. We've had a lot of things on this show that are pretty tragic. But for some reason, with me personally, this situation here, I think it is a very perfect analogy of what I think the state of the country is in, and I'll explain that later. This situation with Paria, and it has garnered to some degree international attention with regards to the accident, the severity of the accident, the response of the accident. But overall, this just might be like my last bit of strength here because it's hitting me in a way that is surprising. I had to edit Mr. Boudram's testimony so that we could have some clips to show this morning. That meant I had to look at it more than once. I had to scrutinize and in a strange way determine what he's saying could I cut out and what do I need to show. And I might not have picked the best things, but I thought this is what we need to hear first, and perhaps we will. There was a lot of his testimony. I only literally just watched 1/3, which was his account of, not even the whole thing, of getting out of the pipe, of that struggle to survive.
So can I just say this before you go on? Because I've never, ever seen Sean so emotionally wrote. In fact, when I came in the studio, I had to say about 3 or 4 times, "Hello, Sean." He's always, no matter what it is, he is always, as he is still doing today, maintaining his composure. But I think this has hit him hard, and I can imagine how it is. So I have told him on this issue, you take the lead on this. You are more, well, you know, I've been involved in a lot of other things, but besides that, I think this is something that Sean really not only feels that it's hard, but he's more knowledgeable about. And we always want to be able to educate. It's not just it's education and not just emote. And I think Sean is the best person to do that today.
So I promise you, as emotional as this may be, I have an important point to make at the end of it, when it's all said and done. But I just like to point out the fact that in the grand scheme of things, 4 lives compared to over 500 murders, compared to 4,000 COVID deaths. If you want to do it like an accountant, it might not seem important. But the question I have ultimately is, did these men, why did they have to die? And I'll come back to that later. Let's get the first clip of Mr. Boudram's testimony. At this point of the testimony, he already described how they got sucked in. Some of those details might be released on other outlets, but I wanted to start off with this part here, with what was going through his mind when this situation, more or less, he found himself stuck now and he didn't know where or why. Let's roll the clip.
After I find the tank, I tell them, I say, yo, watchman, breathing this air for long could get we delirious and get we nauseous, and we start thinking all kind of shit. We need to start taking interval sips of air from the tank to keep clear oxygen in the system. And we can't breathe it right through because we will need it. So we can't just hold it and breathe it. So I tell them, I say, I would give body breathe with Kazim. Every now and again, after pulling and pushing and we're exhausted, we take 2-3 pull of the fresh air, right? The air in the tank. Not much, and we share it. So we don't know how long we will need these tanks for, you know. We don't even know if there are more inside. Because at this stage, it was in my mindset, not knowing what's going on outside, what caused this incident. I'm not sure if it was an explosion. I'm not sure if the whole boat on fire. We don't know, you know. And I understanding and thinking all of that and trying to stay calm, to keep them fellas calm, was one of the hardest things I had to do in this life. Within a rest, I was thinking about leaving a message for my family, because I already started to realize what was the outcome of this. And with that group in my hand, something just tell me, boy, don't proclaim death on your life, boy. Trust in Jesus and just do what you have to do. When we bounce up water. We keep going in the water. As the water started to fill up, it got a little easier to move. You know, so I was a bit relieved too. But knowing what coming up ahead, would there be more water, because I realized the water started getting higher and higher. So I take a measurement from top of my nose to the top of the pipe. And I had 6 inches. I said, Vice, take a measurement from the top of the water to the top of the pipe. Vice tell me he had 8. I said, alright. He said, what happened? I said, boy, water getting higher and higher, boy. It had a little silence, because after saying that, like, everybody started to understand that we're going into water and we need 2 tanks. Don't know how much they have in them. That survival situation is a real different one too. You don't know who will panic on you. You don't know if you pass your regulator, if they will pass it back.
Yes.
You just have to trust each other and say, well, I went forward, I tell them, hold on, I need to go and check to see how far this water is, to know if I could pass them through. I didn't tell them that. I tell them I need to go forward and check to see how far the water going. I'm coming back now. Small cars was kind of reluctant to let go, man. I tell small cars, I said, cars, don't worry. I'm not coming out of this pipe without you. Coming out of this pipe without none earlier. I guarantee you I'm coming out of this pipe without you. I will never leave all you. I went in and swam about 15 feet inwards. And I realized that I can't drag them with the pace we move in 15 feet of water. And still I ain't find no access. I can't drag them with that pace we move.
Right.
Them fellas going to die there if I try to pull them through that. And they may kill me too, because in panic everybody could be fighting. And so I understand I had to go and get help and come back for them.
It's important to note what he started out to say with regards to the air quality. They were relying on the tanks to ensure they had fresh oxygen, because there were fumes from oil residue in the pipe. There wasn't water throughout all the pipe. The pipe then isn't level. but the oil residue caused fumes that now he's worried about the length of time they're going to be in there, if they're going to be delirious, if it's going to affect their health. And of course, the other thing is now he hits the water. He can't, the pace that they're moving through, because he was in relatively good health. He described it in part of his testimony. He was okay. His left arm was trapped kind of behind his head, sticking up. He had difficulty moving it, so he was basically one-handed for the whole time. They couldn't see. They couldn't open their eyes because the oil residue and whatever. And it was pitch black anyway, so there was no point to seeing. Even when he found a flashlight, he couldn't open his eyes. One of his compatriots, I believe it might be in the details might be in the papers, but one of them was significantly hurt. Mr. Boudram himself thought that his shoulder, his arm might have been broken and his ankle might have been broken. It turned out that wasn't the case, but the confinement so restricted him and he didn't know. And a couple of his other fellow co-workers also were in similar or worse straits because of the violence of the suction that pulled them into this metal pipe. And then, they went down, they reached the bend, and then they went some bit away, right, down the pipe. So he's hit, but he is the most able of them all. He is also the one at the end that they think is the end that they have to go to. And he is trying to figure out what to do in this situation.
Well, let me just say, because of course I will always have, just listening to it was heart-wrenching, to be very honest. And it's a different thing for someone to report something third-hand or second-hand, sorry. It's a different thing when you hear it from one of the survivors. And he will have survivor's guilt. And that is something that will carry with him through his life, because he will even say, why me? And even though he knew he couldn't have done anything better, and he did the best he could, he'll have to go for counseling. And I hope the counseling, serious counseling, not a 2-day session. This is something that needs really deep counseling. And, you're looking, of course, at what's unfolding, and maybe the lawyer in me and the other side of me says, well, the good thing, if we have to say a good thing, because we always have to look that there is a good thing. The good thing is that we are hearing it firsthand. So rather than it probably end up in the court, hopefully there will be a resolution and a settlement so he doesn't have to relive this again. But at least the country, and he's getting what I call a catharsis. And sometimes even being able to talk out something and be able to voice your feelings, you might see how painful it is, but in a way it helps him, but it helps us to understand what he must have been going through, and it helps us to understand what his fellow divers were going through. So having a commission of inquiry, as delayed as it was, and it has been, has served a, I know it's a strange word to use, and I don't mean to, to be disrespectful at all, but in a way it allows us to really feel and understand what they went through. The other thing about it is that what brings back to my mind is that the response initially, instead of thinking of the human loss, the human pain, I just cannot imagine it. It's like hell on earth. If you want to have an idea of what Hades is, I think that's a pretty good image of what someone would think Hades would be like. And the response of the government is almost as if everybody was struggling to distance themselves. And the way that the family, I will never forget that when they had them outside in a shed, and they did not even provide them with a meal, they seemed to be, everybody was running to see their lawyers, to see what the lawyers were going to say, and trying to protect themselves from a legal responsibility. Yes, you will want to do that. Yes, that's what companies do, but there's a human side. And these are people, these are their parents, these are mothers. I just cannot imagine that happening to my child. And what I do recall is that the parents or the family complained, said that they were put under a shed and left there, and and very little was being said to them about what was being done.
Yes.
And then the hard part for me again, I'll put it back to you because you already have been following this, but then from my perspective, what I do know is that OSHA clearly blamed both parties based on their own findings and their own whatever examination or whatever data they collected. They're saying both Paria and the independent contractor, because independent contractors are not left off the hook, An employer it's not a non-delegable duty. And even if you have an independent contractor, you have to ensure that the circumstances in which they are put to work are safe and are safe for the purpose for which is intended. So I think at the end of the day, this is really an opportunity for us to understand for ourselves without the dazzle and the optics and the changing the story to suit your objective, to hear it, the person who was there, who went through this. And then, of course, you're going to have OSHA speaking on it too. So it's a sad thing, but I think you are much more capable of dealing with this.
I don't know if I'm much more.
At this point, you are.
I will say this. We have to take a break, but I will say this. I do want to thank King's Counsel Jerome Lynch for streaming, for making the proceedings immediately accessible. And we don't have to wait for recordings or reporter to describe what it was like in the room. He is looking at, this is what modern technology allows. I'm going with it so that we can ensure as much transparency as possible. And I very much appreciate that, because as I have more clips to play. To me, Mr. Boudram's testimony is the most pertinent information I have heard with regards to what happened that day. And it is rather unfortunate that the official channels basically gave us nothing. But I will save that commentary for later. Let's take a break now. When we return, we'll have more of Mr. Boudram's testimony yesterday. Stay tuned. This is Talking Point. Shaw Michael Small, Karen Nurse-Shera. We'll be right back.
Make every occasion a sparkling celebration with Rosabella alcohol-free wine.
Toast cheers with hourglass rays. Rosabella, live life with Rosabella sparkling drink. Celebrate!
Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at PCU. Police Credit Union. PCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
Whether it's a room for 1, 2, 3 or more, there's a room waiting with the ocean view almost to your door. Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, the perfect getaway when you don't want to travel far. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Crown Point, Tobago. Call 639-8571 for your reservation.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best laptops and tablets are at dbesttoys.com. Get a Gateway 14.1-inch Ultra Slim notebook or an HP 14-inch laptop at the best prices in TNT. Get the Fire 7 tablet for $474. You can also shop the latest Amazon Fire Sticks. Call now at 32-DBEST to order or visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at dbesttoys.com. Free delivery available throughout Trinidad and Tobago. Cash or links on delivery.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the red, white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Living in victory every day.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Welcome back, folks, to Talking Points. Sorry for for a little snafu there, but we have another clip. I did not give any warnings before the first clip. I apologize. I know it's not easy for some people to hear. Of course, if you don't want to hear it, you feel free to mute the channel until the video is over. But I think it is important, not just to the state of mind and the emotions that Mr. Boudram went through, but also the chain of events of what happened. Now, I edited it for time, but I will, as best as possible, fill in the blanks. But I wanted you, the public, if you haven't had a chance to see it, the entire testimony is available online on YouTube. However, let's go with the second clip because I want people to see this.
So, I come back, prepare my mind mentally, because at this stage, I still not sure if we're going in the correct direction.
Right.
I still not sure if I go and swim to boat 5 and bounce up a blank, or if I swim further away from the rescue, because everything inside me open a rescue, you know? Everything inside me open a rescue was going on. Nobody was making an attempt to rescue me. You know what I mean? Sorry. I understand that. I'm not sure how far this water going. And I don't tell myself I may not come back from the swim. But I had to know, I had to try. Because staying here is just as good as dying. And it don't make sense I should stay one place and dead. Or I'll just be killing the men and them too. But staying there.
All right, take a moment.
I always somebody who doesn't know what's going on, and I was always somebody who could control and see things through, and I feel like I tell her how it's coming back when I feel like. After trying to use all my senses and understanding and whatever skill I had with them fellas, at this stage when I turn around and start to move, it was like me running for my pit bull.
Right.
I wasn't thinking
how far it is,
how far or anything else. I was just, my mind was just set on forward.
Yes.
I apologize that I wasn't able to get that information, and I only understand how crucial it was only when I'm outside the pipe.
Right.
So what had to be cut out there was at that point in time, not only did he make the decision to try to move forward, but Mr. Faisal Kurban, he encouraged to come with the tank as well, to not go alone, I would imagine, as well as also to try to get as many people out as possible. And what he said there, it kind of summed up my confusion way back in the end of February. We heard the tragedy. I did not understand. So the men in the pipe, we think that they might actually still be alive. And there's no rescue efforts. And there were reports in the news that Mr. Boudram told the gentleman that eventually pulled them out of the end of the pipe in the habitat where they were working originally and got sucked in. And I'll explain, he went through a whole ordeal there, and I'll explain at the end of the clip. But there was already in the papers that he told one of them, hey, your brother-in-law is right there. Because the two of them took the tanks and were more or less moving now towards the exit, basically. They were swimming towards where they got sucked in. And I could not understand why, if it's right there, why didn't anybody? Now with the testimony, I understand that the other three divers were further away. And unfortunately, Mr. Boudram doesn't really know how far away that was. But even then, you know, that lack of explanation from the authorities now, because at the end of his ordeal, he can't be involved in it. He doesn't know what's going on. He's recovering. He's just literally been through a life or death situation.
So can I just say though that the real issue, I guess, again, you put on your legal hat, and the legal hat has to do, of course, with liability. And the liability has to do with money. That's what it comes down to. And of course, how badly it makes Paria in particular look, even though the independent contractor, it seems, has some blame in this, but the main responsibility would be the employer. So what is very troubling to me, based on the nature of the exercise, it would stand to reason that you would have in place a rescue plan to go immediately into action, given that they're not above air, they're not above land, they're in a circumstance where it would require immediate action, it would require specialized response, and therefore it should not be then that you should be even thinking of a recovery thing. It should have been in place, and as soon as things went awry, and as soon as you realize that, immediately you should have stepped into place. And what we are learning, and this is what disturbs me, at least in the newspapers before I came on today, I was just reading very quickly, so forgive me if I get it kind of wrong, but it seemed to me that they were trying to, and that is not King's Counsel, but certainly those representing Paria, who look very concerned in the photo that they took, and I could well imagine they have good reason to look very concerned, that they seem to be trying to question the veracity of his account, in making it seem, are you sure you said there were other people that recovered? Then they're saying, well, you were on your bed. Can you remember what you said? In other words, trying, and you know, that is so disgraceful on their part, in my view. Because this man has been through something that none of us would ever want to go through. None of us. I understand you're working for your client. I understand that. But what you are trying to do, from what I read, is to make us to question his testimony to the point that this is the point, it's going to liability. It's not about him. It's not about him. It's about the liability of the company. In other words, if they were dead already, and you told us they were dead already, then all we could do at that point is recover. But if it is that you told us, and you keep saying that you did, and even if you didn't tell us, the fact is that he came out, this probability is that there are other people who would have survived. And the fact that you did not go into rescue immediately and not have a rescue plan immediately, but waited and now talk recovery, it is because you want to say in law, when you talk about negligence, you have to say, okay, even if I was negligent, you know, even if we had done a rescue plan, would it have made a difference? That's the point, you know.
Yes.
Even if we had done a rescue plan, it would not have made a difference because they're already
Except-
dead. No, that's the argument,
Right, that's
the
the argument.
causation, the but-for argument.
But of course, the obvious counter to that is there was no attempt made
But that is what I'm
to even look into,
Yeah, but-
because we got no, and for the interest of time, we won't go into the other clip. I could just explain what happened. Mr. Boudram went with Mr. Faisal Kurban. They swam up until about, they reached maybe another, they had to swim through some water. They got to an air pocket. They reached another set of water. At this point, this is where Mr. Boudram separated from Mr. Kurban. But he wasn't too far from the exit. He did not necessarily know that he was going to an exit. For all he knew, he was going to run out of air and he wasn't going to be able to swim back to the air pocket. He was able to find more oxygen tanks, but he reached to the end of the pipe. He struggled to pull himself out for some time until he exhausted himself, and then finally his co-workers, that's when they arrived because he heard knocking, he knocked back in response. They were able to pull him out. And as per his testimony, and the King's Counsel, the chairman of the inquiry, Jerome Lynch, he specifically just asked him to be sure. So you said that they were alive down there. I'm paraphrasing. So he made Mr. Boudram repeat that he told his rescuers that they were, at the very least, he said, Mr. Kurban is right down there.
So Sean, from my perspective and from my contribution to this discussion, which is, of course, you have given a very, very vivid...
This is Mr. Boudram's testimony.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say to you, I can't help but put on the lawyer's hat.
Yes.
Right? And the lawyer's hat, I'm telling you that the reason why King's Counsel was trying to be very, very meticulous is because he wanted to ensure that Mr. Boudram said they were alive.
Exactly.
Now,
Yes.
if they were alive, the liability of Paria would be far higher.
Yes.
Because as opposed to we knew they were already dead. So whatever we did at that point in time,
not just that,
it may be horrible, we may not be happy that this happened, but we couldn't have saved lives that were dead.
Just that.
So we're already liable, but the liability goes a much higher level when it's like Sean, let me just see. I know you're...
No, because I want to add to this, yes.
Yeah, but let me just say it. You know, it's when they say to you the but-for or the causation, when they say, well, okay, maybe we're negligent to do X, Y, and so they would be negligent, in my mind, based on OSHA report and everything that we know. There was negligence. These people should not have died in the first place. But where the negligence takes on a different sets of liability and a shame on Paria is to know that you have someone who survived. Thank God, dead men tell no tales. Thank God, this man survived. And it is a shame that what Paria is trying to, which is why the King's Counsel asked him again, because what they were trying to do was to question whether, are you sure you remember this thing, right? In other words, in a summing up, to try to say that there was no opportunity, it's unlikely that there was recovery. This is why King's Counsel was absolutely on point to have him confirm that they had recovered. You know why? Because then it means at that point in time, you should have had a plan in place and you should have executed it immediately because it's people's lives. It is people's lives you're dealing with. And that now becomes the issue of liability. And I could tell you that puts it at a different level now.
And we don't have, let me just say this, we don't have all the information. So we can't come to conclusions here as two talking heads. However.
Oh God, thank you.
However, right, what Karen said, first of all, is reasonable. And in my mind, this accident where you're going to have a pressure differential to suck the divers in, you're not expecting it to happen.
No.
But this is not some freak 1 in a million, never seen this before accident, right? This seems to be something that, you know, it could happen, just like how, you know, there's certain types of car accidents where you have a certain expectations of things that you have to look out for.
What do you call the higher the risk, the higher responsibility to take protection, because the employer has a duty of care.
But not only that, not only do we not have anything to suggest that Pariah or rescue divers or anything outside of Mr. Boudram's friend or co-worker went down once, right? Not only do we have no account of any official rescuers making an attempt, but LMCS could say, well, look, one of our guys tried to go. We were ready to go. You all weren't ready to go. I know. The thing is, there are two issues here. There is the cause of the accident, and then there's why was there no rescue attempt from Pariah.
And the whole safety it's not.
And I understand it's not straightforward, but usually when officials tell us that a rescue attempt is too dangerous, it doesn't even have to be the best explanation, but some explanation as to why it is dangerous. We don't need all the details. You don't need to figure it all out so that we know everything perfectly. But you have to have a reason why it's too dangerous. You can't just say it's too dangerous. And how? Because he was able to make it to the end.
No, that's not only that. How could it have reached a point that it was too dangerous? Therefore, you put persons at unnecessary risk for it to reach a point that you are saying it is too dangerous.
Well, exactly.
So, you know, that's the,
if the situation was that severe,
don't put them in there at all.
And you weren't prepared from the start, you're right, it makes it even worse. And
yeah, so
you said that the lawyers were disgraceful with regards to what they were learning to. Yeah. You understood why they had to do it.
Yeah, they're doing their job.
Listen, I very much believe that the response from Pariah and from the government on this, but more Pariah than the government.
But it's the same difference.
Because the chairman and the board is politically appointed. Right. So
don't separate it, please.
I am the lack of adequacy and the disgracefulness of it all. The fact that you are the board, you're appointed. Now is the time to step up. And you can't do it. You have to bring in.
If they had good news to tell you how much money they made.
Of course, they would want to be there, right? But then on top of that, where's the accountability? This happened under that board's watch. This happened under that management's watch. They were selected under this government's watch. I have reached the point. I am slowly running out of tolerance for the overall situation of the country. And I get it, I understand. It's not as though the government literally made the decisions in the moment there that Thursday or Friday. However, what happens after? How you respond? How
they allow that situation.
Well, first of all, yes. To me, this situation is caused by a lot of the things that we have been saying on this show with regards to corruption, with regards to people who are not supposed to be in those positions, negligence, nepotism. Eat a food mentality that we see on both sides of Parliament's aisle.
Yeah.
Right? Anyway, we have to take a break. We have another topic to get into, and the reason why we have to get into this topic because in my mind it ties back into the bigger picture here. So stay tuned on Talking Point. When we return, we want to go on now. There's an interesting question why we had to get a King's Counsel to oversee this chair. And there's another question with regards to one of our other ongoing national concerns. Stay tuned to Talking Point, folks. We'll be right back.
Whether it's your family meet and eat or your own personal getaway retreat, a business trip, accommodation, or a couple's celebration, the Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa has room for you. There's always sumptuous, delicious cuisine and the gym and tennis court for a good workout routine. Then relax by the pool or on the private beach, or just head to the spa. It's also within reach. The Cocoa Reef Resort and Spa, Tobago's best beach resort. For reservations, call 639-8571 or check our website.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
The best birthday gifts are at thebesttoys.com. Shop for the best brands you love at the best prices. Like VTech, Leapfrog, Fisher-Price, Play-Doh, Hot Wheels, Barbie, Cocomelon, LOL, Baby Alive, Crayola. Visit us in-store at Forces Flagship MacBean. Shop online now at thebesttoys.com. Order via call or WhatsApp at 32DBEST to order. And remember, we have the best toys at the best prices.
Make every occasion a sparkling celebration with Rosabella alcohol-free wine.
Toast cheers with hourglass rays. Rosabella, live life with Rosabella sparkling drink. Celebrate!
Your Christmas is safe with us at BCU. Police Credit Union. Police Credit Union. Your Christmas is safe with us at BCU. Police Credit Union. BCU. Police Credit Union.
Get an easy zero-interest Christmas loan at Police Credit Union today. Borrow up to $25,000 with affordable monthly payments. New members, you get up to $10,000. No interest, no installments until January. Apply online at www.policecreditunion.com. Loan subject to credit approval.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former Mayor Louis Lee Singh. Available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando. Paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop Ariapita Avenue Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
Inspire, motivate, encourage, hope. It's about topical issues. It's about everything that you would want to know about hope, about life. At the end, you're going to say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. If she can, I can do it too.
No matter what they say, living in victory every day.
Nicole Lawson Live, living in victory every day. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. and Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on WESN.
Okay, folks, welcome back to Talking Points. We got sidetracked with some conversation off air. Lights in the mood. I did get a message. One of our viewers who follows me on Facebook, he did say I'm wrong about the diving incident and to speak to a qualified diver. And you know what? I am willing to admit where I'm wrong. My general idea of the incident, though, is twofold, and I think it goes back to what Karen is saying. You know, with regards to the overall situation. Why was this allowed? What was the cause of the accident? If they knew that there was a risk, why weren't they prepared for the risk? And I very much highly doubt that you're not gonna, like if you went into the situation, you set up this repair or construction of the pipe or maintenance of the pipe or extension of the pipe, whatever that they were doing, the semantics in that part don't matter. They were there to do a job. You set up this job and you're not prepared for accidents, then there has to be some kind of negligence there. Yeah. There has to be, in my mind, because this is not 2 guys dishing out ice cream to give the kids, or 5 guys, being waiters with plastic cutlery, right? This is not a safe situation in no shape or form. So I hear you. I appreciate the fact that you don't want me to say the wrong thing on air. I thank you for that. More explanation. If you could call in after, you don't have to give us a conclusion, just a generalization of what could happen, because we don't have all the information. So I want to warn viewers again. What I'm saying is not statements of facts that are certain, that are the final conclusions on it.
Okay, so I just want to say that I think what the issues really are at this point in time is one of contributory negligence, certainly, because just from what OSHA, I'm not even looking at what the driver says, I'm dealing with OSHA, which is supposed to be an independent body, and their report, if I can remember it, what OSHA is saying that there clearly is negligence in terms of preparation for this activity, which carries high risk. So that's one thing. So you're looking at contributory negligence. I think you're also looking, there's no question that, when you look at negligence, duty of care, who owed the duty of care, which is what part of the argument is it. Both Paria and both the independent contractor. I think the law is going to find that both of them were both responsible. The third thing is that, was there negligence? Well, I think the facts speak for themselves. Yeah. The fourth thing is the causation. What caused the accident? Which is where you're hearing all the evidence. And I think it's pretty clear that whatever should have been done was not done, but that is coming out in the evidence. And finally, the coup de grace, the last part that really troubles people and would be troubling is that if there were persons there who were still alive and could have been rescued, what plans were put in place in the first place, which they should have, and secondly, what was done when they realized something was going wrong. What did they do? I think they'll be in trouble with that. But as your caller says, and as I have said to you too, Sean, the evidence is going on. It's good that we're hearing it live and hearing the testimony live. They are not, a commission of inquiry is not a court of law. The evidence can be used in a case, and it can also be used to bring a resolution by way of a settlement. And I feel, hopefully, that's the way that PARI is going to go with it, go with a settlement, because it's not good to prolong this.
There are technicalities about diving. Yes, I don't understand them all. If someone is willing to explain that here on the show, that's fine with regards to, if that will answer the question why no rescue attempt was made. But even so, I'm still, we needed more than what we were given. With that said, there was something interesting. We might not have enough time. We might have to spill over after the break. But with regards now to the issue of crime in this country, we have, with this situation here, this commission of inquiry, we had to bring in a King's Counsel to chair it. You were telling me, somebody was speaking about basically looking towards outside help to deal with our crime problem, as controversial as that always is when it comes up.
Okay, so just with the King's Counsel, they did have a King's Counsel. So Dennis Morrison, who was chairman of the Council of Legal Education, Jamaican, has been a Court of Appeal judge, highly respected, first-class honors, came first in law school. I think he among 3 people in the entire history of the law schools, of all the law schools, that graduated with an A in every single course. So he is one of the most highly respected persons on every single level. So what was troubling to me, when I saw that he had been appointed, I said, oh, that's a good thing. And then when I saw he left, I said, I said, well, I know he has a reputation, a good reputation of integrity and honesty, really. And when I saw him pull out, I wondered whether the reason he gave was really the reason, and it concerned me. But I am pleased to see that at least the person who has replaced him, because he is also a King's Counsellor, and he is Sir Dennis Morrison, by the way. So they got a high ruler, a heavy ruler. But to see that he left, that was troubling to me. Now that we have someone else, we have to always try to maintain a certain, what should I say? In doing justice, you have to maintain a certain level of objectivity, because at the end of the day, when you come to your decision, it must be a decision that that is respected by all. So I'm glad that we have this gentleman. He seems to be fair, this King's Counsel. And at the end of the day, it's all going to come out in the wash. And I think Paris is going to look worse and worse and worse. They look very troubled, as they should. As they should. I feel sorry for the lawyers, but they're probably being well paid, no matter. But the money can't help you when you have a bad case, and a case that goes to the way of treating of people. But we move on from that, I think, because I think we need to move on from that, and our hearts are with the family, and there's no question about that. But what I said to Sean yesterday, I can call Timothy Hammersmith. I have been talking all along, and sometimes I feel a voice in the wilderness in a way, about what is the root cause of our crime. And everybody talks about unemployment, which is contributing, obviously, bad parenting and so on. But he sent me something, and I said, well, I'm just so glad. He spoke the truth. He was president of our public at one time, and I think people have respect for the name. And he said very clearly, he said, what is the root cause of our crime? He says, first of all, he says, who is not afraid to go out at night? Who cannot say that they don't live in fear for their lives? There's a despair that is overrunning Trinidad and Tobago, pervading our very lives. I wrote it down. He said, and the government seems clueless. Day by day, they keep making it up as they go along with no vision, no plan, no intervention. And then he said, the root cause, we don't want to make, we don't make guns. Who is letting the guns and the cocaine in? That is what is fueling the crime today. That is what is fueling the crime today. You understand? I said to him, closer to closer, we're becoming a narco state. The leaders are not in charge. The people who run this country are the guns and drug lords. They are in charge. The root cause of our problem, he says, even the Coast Guard, he says there are cases where they say, when they go to arrest, they're told, they get a call that says, get a call to stand down. We have OPVs, dozens of them, in a state of great disrepair. No fuel. They said, where will the intervention take place? We cannot do that without international help. And that's what I've been saying, actually, recently. In Barbados, very recently, they signed an agreement with Interpol to assist, and they brought the headquarters is in Barbados, Interpol, to assist with the intervention of the narcotics trade and the maritime trade. He says, with the scanners, why a scanner can scan a container? Why are we not using the scanners? Why are we not joining the CARICOM initiative? Why are we not involved using the ship rider arrangement, which allow the United States to intervene, to pick up drugs, to board boats? But what we said was our sovereignty. He says, where is your sovereignty when the drug lords, they are the ones running this country. The drug lords are running this country. This is coming from Tim Hammersmith, why are you talking about? He said, I think Pandey had said that. Mr. Pandey said that. He said, why talk about sovereignty when in fact, who is running this country but not the drug lords? So what I am saying, and he came up with some initiatives that I totally agree with, but the point I'm trying to make, and I was so happy to hear it from him, let's stop playing. He talked about the fact that, in fact, it has permeated. They control the government. They are in control of everything. And when it goes to that level, the corruption you're seeing in this country starts at that point. And because now everything, you got to pass a dollar, you got to pass some money. So I was very happy to learn that someone of his caliber was finally willing to come out and say what we all know. The cause of our crime is the drugs and the guns. And this government is doing nothing about it. Somebody is letting them in, and somebody, and that's the government, is doing nothing about it.
Well, we'll have to stick a pin in this here because basically it's alluding to the fact of if not people inside the country, then do we look to outside?
No, but the inside, no, they've already said that it's the, you remember, I don't want to use the example. It's outside who are inside. And the part is, and one of the things we need to deal with is party financing, because as he says, if you are financing a party, he who pays the piper plays the tune. And if he says, don't implement the procurement law, don't do this, don't do that, and make the excuses, they run in the country.
Okay, folks, we have to take a break. When we come back, we will continue. We'll finish this part of the conversation, give you a chance to call in, weigh in with your opinion, but we have to take a break now on Talking Points. When we return, after the news, we'll hear what you have to say.
Is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best. I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WESN,
the content capital.
AM Prime on WESN, the only place from 6 to 7:30 a.m. where you can get the most analytical and thorough interviews and regional reports.
The Barbados Labour Party, led by the Prime Minister Mia Amor-Motley, once again able to achieve a clean sweep in yesterday's general election.
I think a lot of people have underestimated the power
of Tobago nationalism.
If the government is afraid to say it, I, Martin George, I am saying it this morning on your show, Andy. There will be no carnival before Ash Wednesday.
Grab a cup of coffee and start your day right watching AM Prime with Andy Johnson weekdays from 6 a.m. Only on your content capital, WESN.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, The Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Welcome back to Talking Point, folks. I know we already have one call. To that caller, please hold on because we have some important things to say. Crime, drugs, drug money, the situation is getting out of control. It is but one issue. It's one of the major ones. Basically, we should be looking for international help. That is more or less what we're talking about here. I believe we have reached that point. I have hinted or gone in that direction a few times, but now I'm committing to it because we're not seeing solutions here. So why not ask for help outside, Karen?
Yes, quickly, just to say that the Shipwrighter Agreement allows the United States Coast Guard, the maritime law enforcement officers to board vessels, to observe vessels and do searches. And the argument against it, of course, was our sovereignty. But as Mr. Pandey had said, okay, we want sovereignty, but we prefer for the narco drug lords to be controlled and be our leaders. That's what we prefer. That's our version of sovereignty. So some of these suggestions that were made that came from Mr. Hammerstedt, which I agree and I've said, and I would like to add, but some I had not even thought of. He said license plates, that each license they should have identification. So when people put on false license plates,
yes,
kind of thing, it's much easier to track. The DNA, we should have the DNA center up and running. We should have the ballistics division not only up and running, but fully implemented. He talked about the procurement legislation. He said that's a good example of the corruption in his country, because we don't want that procurement legislation to pass, because he actually said that, because it allows you to give contracts who you want, who we want, and who's supporting you. And then he talked about, and of course, he talked about the billions of dollars in drugs that fuel it, and encouraging us up to what he's saying is happening now. We're getting two sets of drugs, drug groups, if you want to put it. Those that we know that are already traditionally established, as you would call, but the ones who operate in the communities who are saying, hey, why must we selling the drugs for you and taking a cut? I'm going to be my own drug lord. So what is happening in this country is the corruption has seeped right through. And I understand that people say if we disrupt it, we're going to pay a price. But if we look at the price we're paying, do we really have a democracy? Do we really have a government that is free from taking instructions from a few people when it is not in the benefit of the national community? We are not diversifying. There's no push to diversify, because some people like it just so. And listen, Singapore doesn't have drugs. Dubai doesn't have drugs. I don't know if Ireland has drugs, but their economy is doing darn well. So this idea that, yes, in the short term, we will pay a price. But if we love our country and we want a future for our country, if we don't do something now, we are a lost nation. And that is what he's saying.
And situations that come from that allow for what we see happen at Paria. I'm gonna connect the two things together. Those who don't like it, I'm sorry. We have a situation where corruption is breaking down the systems of government. You could appoint whoever you want to appoint or whatever board you want to appoint them to. Now a tragedy happens under their watch. Are there any consequences, any accountability, anything coming out of it? No. I wonder why. But we like it so. Let's not forget, at the end of the day, we, the citizens, have something to say. And yes, we're not the ones that put the situation together. We don't have direct control, but we have to play our part to stand up and speak out all these things. We have a caller. I am very sorry. Hopefully you're still in line, Tobago. Good morning.
Yes, Port Tobago. I hope he's still there.
Good morning. Are you with us? Or we might have lost him.
The number's not up.
Folks, the phone lines are open. Please call in if you want to. Tobago, call back. It's just...
I am here. Good morning,
Morning.
Sean.
We have him. Good morning, caller.
All right. I want to make two comments, and I'll be quick about it. First, concerning the Paria incident. My heartfelt condolences go out to those families of the men who perished, and to the survivors. I hope that they find peace. What is most important at this point, to me, Sean, is not the feeding frenzy that the King and Queen Council and lawyers will be engaged in, but rather the mental health of those who survived and their families. When you listen from the mouth of that young man that survived, you can certainly hear that he is in turmoil within. That young man is not sleeping well at night. And more than just clinical therapy that will address the symptoms, that's what clinical therapy addresses, the symptoms. And they'll probably give him drugs to sleep at night and drugs to wake up and all of these things. What is needed is a deep spiritual mourning that indigenous cultures know about. And this is what we have stepped away from, is our indigenous cultures that allow the spirit within to take control of the human mind. Because what that man went through, you can certainly hear that the human mind cannot cope with that. The human mind is going to break under that kind of pressure. And so the spirit within is what must be accessed to help deal with the cause, not just deal with it, but come to terms with the cause of it. Because this is something that happened, it's in the past, and so one must now come to terms with it and let it go. So that's one. Two, as far as crime is concerned, crime is not a cause. Cocaine, heroin, drugs, guns is not a cause. This is a symptom of social decay. And this is what we must right. We must get to the social issue of why your young men are taking to such a life of crime. Because remember, it's not just the young men that are involved in crime. These drugs and guns are being brought in by people with yachts and living in penthouses and things of this nature. But why are the street-level young men taking the bait and engaging in a life of crime?
But
this is a social issue that must be
I
dealt
have
with.
to answer you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I have to answer you. So if they didn't bring in
Thank
the
you,
drugs, thank you. If you didn't bring in the drugs, then they wouldn't be doing it. And so who's giving them the drugs to sell? And can you tell me if URP is paying you $2,000 and you could get $5,000 for taking a thing of cocaine, you're not going to do it?
More importantly, the drug
please.
money.
Oh my God.
Okay, we could.
And the last thing is, can I just say, I understand that he needs healing, but you know when you get chained, that's why United States and Europe and all these countries get chained, because when they get sued. When people get sued and it hits them in their pocket and they understand, hey, we do this again, We're going to be paying money. They're going to change their
Well,
ways.
I
So
also wonder
that's why you have to have a change.
To what extent they're also worried about criminal negligence charges. But also, corruption does not come from social issues.
Exactly.
Government, so we could talk about that level of crime, but the higher level of crime, the money is flowing too much. Is it San Fernando or Clarkson
My
next?
goodness.
San Fernando, good morning. Good morning, caller.
Sorry,
Good morning,
I didn't know
Sarah.
we could speak out like that.
You hear me?
Yes, go ahead, you're live.
Yes, you know, one of the things I would hope at one of these days that you all could probably get Darius Figueroa to explain to the population how this drug trade has been working in Trinidad for the last 30 years. As one. Mr. Shera, I have a question for you though. When you were in government and there was an attempt by the administration that you were in to put in a security apparatus within the lower Eastern Caribbean in Greendot, with these these radars and then the ordering of these OPVs. At that time, wasn't there an American and British presence within what islands with patrols that the Americans and the British ran in between there? And one of the reasons why we were trying to beef up the system is because they had indicated that they were going to pull out.
All I can say, because we don't have the time, but that's just part of a whole multifaceted approach, and the Revenue Authority was part of it. The SORT was part of it, the FIU, which we were going to. There's so many parts to that thing. So that all what I'm saying to you is that to pick out one part and therefore say.
No.
I'm just saying.
What he's saying is y'all were putting something in place because the American and British were pulling out. They were pulling out, so you needed to fill that gap.
Well, we have the United States here, you know. When we were working on the Revenue Authority, you may not know that, but when we were working on the Revenue Authority, we had the United States Customs working with us.
With ocean patrols.
Talking about patrols on the ocean to deal with transnational crime and drugs and that type of thing.
So what I would say to you is, we don't have the time, unfortunately, to say that I had this conversation with someone yesterday, but I just said to them that what Mr. Manning was doing was creating a situation where it made it difficult. But we don't have the time.
I think we have Clarkson Bay next.
We don't have the time.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Sean.
Morning.
Morning to the lady there.
The lady there. Morning.
You know, this guy, Christopher, was giving his fellow friends hope. You know what is hope? And because give them hope and they come upstairs, they come up to the rescue and there is no hope on top. But remember a couple of years ago, about 10, 12 years ago, pirate threw over some fishermen. A young guy, 9 years old, and his father was one life jacket. And the father was telling his son, I leave in, you're not going. See about yourself. Lord. The son tell the father, he said, no, Dad, if you go, I'm going to. So that was hope. You know? So there's a big tears to my eye. That's what happened here. That's not fair.
Thank you, caller. We have any more calls, guys? Okay, so, I mean, we have enough time for a couple more calls if you call in quick. I want to reiterate again, someone contacted me via social media while we were on a break. Apparently, yes, safety protocols for certified divers in the oil and gas industry says that they could not do the rescue. And while I appreciate that to some extent, I do have to ask, you know, I mean, I don't have all the details.
Exactly.
I rarely, however, cannot accept, I have a very hard time accepting that rescue was impossible. I get it. You commercially certified for that situation, but I'm pretty sure this would not be the first time someone is saying a rescue situation is not going to be perfectly safe like a normal commercial operation. And if someone is willing to tell me why I'm wrong, it doesn't have to be off air. So if you're listening, I'm not insisting that it has to be on air. It could be off air, right?
Tobago is calling.
But we have a caller from Tobago. But yes, I would like to know, because if I don't have information, I'm not just going to say, oh, it was not safe for no reason. Good morning, caller.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to call back because I heard Karen addressing me at the end. And I respect that. I should be addressed. One, I'm not saying that the companies are not liable for what they did. Certainly they are liable, right? But the fact that you have to sue them in order for them to do the right thing is a evidence of social decay. That's what I'm talking about. They have to be sued in order to do the right thing, even under these circumstances, where it is so evident that even if you did not, it's not a matter of you purposely sent those young men to their death. But as the companies responsible, you have to accept that liability. And you should not have to be sued in order for these families to get this relief. Why put them through this? Why have this young man on TV bawling his eyes out? Now it's another month he ain't gonna sleep after this kind of episode he put him through. That's the social decay I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In respect
And we agree with
to
you.
the matter of crime and bringing in drugs and guns, that is not the cause. That came in and met the social decay.
But caller.
If they did not, let me finish. If they did not bring in the drugs, if they did not bring in the drugs and the guns, there will be another type of crime taking place.
Okay, but let's give it a chance then. Let's give it a chance to find out if you're right. But right now,
hold on, caller.
I can't.
No, wait. Caller, one thing though, with regards to social decay, I mean, isn't it possible that the illegal money is slowly eroding the ethics of people in position of authority?
Let me ask you something.
And by position of authority, I don't mean the Prime Minister is taking drug money. I mean like it could be all levels of authority. A customs agent, a Coast Guard officer, what have you, somebody in the port, somebody law enforcement, a bureaucrat. Don't have to be top levels, It could be at bottom rung.
It's at all levels.
But even people at the bottom rung that have a responsibility will have ways to kind of get things moving along.
You know what?
Hold on.
Caller, I mean, he's giving it his point, and we're not going to agree. Absolutely not agree with him. And so, but I will say though, with regard to the first point you made, I appreciate what you said, because I had a medical negligence case, and I went through that for 17 years, and it was very, very hard. You can't. It's my husband, and he had died, and I was there when the whole incident. I was in the room, and I saw it unfold and so on. So it was very painful for me. But I know, and I hope that experience, now I'm going through another stage, that hopefully other hospitals, and maybe that one, at the end of the day, will learn something from that, and the things that they probably were negligent, because it's a question of negligence. It's not about criminal wrongdoing. It's about negligence, that you didn't do what you should have done in the circumstances. And as a result of failing to do it, you cause death or damage. That's what it is. And so if the way you have to learn is you have to pay, so be it.
Caller.
Am I still there?
Yeah, yes, you're still there.
I still there with
I want
you.
to address Sean's point.
Yes.
I want to address Sean's point about the illegal money. He's absolutely on point. Right? It is the objectification of money that is causing this global crime concern. Crime is a global concern. It's not just in Trinidad and Tobago we're having this issue of this type of crime. And the objectification of money, where money is now the god of this world, where people are now doing anything for money. You have people that have a whole lot of money, because the people that are bringing in these drugs and guns, Sean and Karen, have a whole lot of money.
Where are they getting money from in the first place?
They already have legal money in the bank. They have millions and billions of dollars.
Where they got it from in the first place?
Because it's greed.
Where did they get it from the first place? You must listen to Martin George.
And on the ground,
all right, caller.
I'm a bit intolerant.
Carla, I hear you, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. It's a complex situation.
Oh, that's what you agree with.
However, the points that Karen and I were making, we are seeing it on different pages. We'll have to end it there because we do have another call I want to get in before the end of the show. Good morning, Diego Martin. Morning. Hello.
Oh, hi.
Yes.
Hi, sorry. Good morning. Thanks. I cried again for Mr. Boudram and his brothers because their family. He experienced two things there, the trauma of facing his own death and witnessing 4 more. Look at when he said, I'm coming back now. Small cars was kind of reluctant to let me go. And I said, don't worry, I'm not coming out this pipe without you. I'm not coming out this pipe without none of Alia. I guarantee sure I'm coming out with Alia. I will never leave Alia. So then he swims out, realizes he cannot make it, and then he thought them fellas going to die there if I tried to pull them through that, and they may kill me too. So he realized he had to get help and come back for them. I mean, can you just imagine what he is feeling like at that moment? And so I could not watch anymore, but I recall, I think he said, somewhere I might have seen it, that all this time he's thinking that something is being done for him. And then when he comes up, no one was there.
Yes.
So, so apart from the pain that I feel for them, I feel so much anger. And yes, I'm not a lawyer. I cannot make a conclusion, but I do blame Paria because if the lawnmower guy, if the guy comes here to cut my grass, I have to make sure things are in place. When people cut my pui that's 40 feet in the air, I need to know that they have on belts and that they're doing everything and they're not going to fall and die. If I hire someone, it's my responsibility. So it's just unfathomable to me that having these men that's not being monitored from above. And the whole thing, apart from the 1,000 details that we do not understand, the aim was to rescue the people when they got in difficulty. And to even tell Mr. Boudram that he could not go down there, you now starting to think and tell him don't endanger your life after everybody is dead. I mean, this is just absurd. And I hope Mr. George, who I think was playing golf at the time, I hope he does not sleep in the night. Thanks. Goodbye.
Very well put, ma'am. Very well put.
Not only did he have to leave them, but when he came up, and I think that's something that I didn't necessarily explain, when he came up, so he reached the end of the pipe, he couldn't pull himself up.
Yeah.
It was dark, and he realized there was nobody there. So all of the hope, there was nobody. Eventually, some of his friends and co-workers, the two of them that pulled him out, came into the habitat. But he thought this happened, right? We had this accident, and nobody was actively there to try, no safety diver, no nothing. So again, I understand that by international best practice standards, it was not an easy situation. But I need something a little bit more to explain to me why nobody went after those men. And
why were they put in that situation?
And why were they put in that situation? Because there might be questions about the divers' credentials, about LMCS's ability with regards to the contract, and should they have the job. And those, I have heard of those, not in detail, but I've heard those out there. All I will say with this, again, why were they put in that situation? Who approved that? It's a whole systemic thing. Now that ties me back to what I was alluding to from the very beginning. The system, folks. This is a microcosm of the system that Karen was talking about with regards to crime. The system allows for these things to happen. And I don't know why this is the thing that has reached my final straw. We have already had children get shot, right? We've already had the Coast Guard kill a child out at sea, right? So what is special about these four men? To some extent, when I go back and think what he went through, and he gave us a detailed account, and as Karen said, that is the closest thing to hell on earth that I have thought of. Because they were in there not for seconds, not for minutes, but for hours alive. And in my mind, ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about it, for all intents and purposes, TNT, Trinidad and Tobago, the Twin Island Republic, the beautiful undiscovered paradise that is a hidden gem to the rest of the world. For all intents and purposes, we are all in that pipe right now.
Well put. Well put.
We are all in that pipe, lined with the remnants of the oil and gas, put there by circumstances that allows an inefficient, uncaring, bureaucratic government. And I'm not just, this is not about party now, this is not about PNM or UNC. I don't want to hear about what the UNC would have done differently. Let's not kid ourselves.
Yeah.
Put there by a system that we the people have allowed to remain. And that very same system is choking the lifeblood out of this country. So I don't want to hear people, oh, change, and then you vote for the same thing over and over again. Folks, just to close, I've said it before, I'm going to quote Mr. Boudram as I did yesterday. Come all ya, we have to go, all are we in this together. If you don't believe that, if you believe that, then you have to be as frustrated as I am. You have to. And I don't know where we're going to go next, but this is not the direction of TNT. This just isn't it. We have to do better. We all in this together. Folks, on behalf of Karen and myself, we have to end. This is the end of the show. We're out of time. Apologies once again on behalf of Mr. Keaton Shaw for not being able to be here. We want to thank all of our callers. We here at WSN Talking Point. We will see you tomorrow morning.